So these are two players that have had some pretty good seasons in the past. Fish, kind of, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Runner-up in 2010. Nats appearances pretty much every year, and Worlds appearances behind it. Worlds appearance under his belt as well. King of Kongs, of course, coming off of a very good year last year, managed to get first in Smogon's VGC tournament as well as top 8 at Worlds this past year, and top 9 here in the first regional of the 2013 season in California. So two established players, both of whom are very strong, and expect some pretty good matches to come.
I think there's two players that the audience can root for pretty easily too, because they've both been such consistent players for such a long time, but they never seem to get the big one in real life. Like not a whole lot of prize money under either of their belts. So people, it's easy to hope they do well. And both of them are real strong players too, so it'll be interesting to see what they pull off here. I've got some idea of Fish's team, which we're going to get a look at here, using Latios, Rotom Washing Machine, Amoonguss, Heatran, Cresselia, and I believe that's Landorus T. So King of Kongs must be playing in a black-white one card. And he's got Latios and some other stuff I didn't catch enough to read off because I was talking. Gallade, Jellicent, Rotom W, Ferrothorn, and Heatran. Thank you.
So we know that King of Kongs is a big fan of Choice Band Gallade, so definitely expect that to show up. The rest of it looks like it's at the very least, Trick Room option against Fish. That Amoonguss probably going to play a pretty strong role.
I know Fish mentioned he was a little leery about the Amoonguss because he hadn't practiced a whole lot with it, but it seems like it'll give him a good matchup here if he chooses to use it.
That's true. It would be a really good option against this dedicated Trick Room team. Of course, he has to watch out for both that Latios and that Gallade, both of which can either do heavy damage in the case of the Latios or probably KO with that Choice Band Gallade. Choice Band Gallade, one of King of Kong's favorite Pokemon, and definitely showing in the past its strength. And of course, he brings it out to lead alongside his Latios. Fish bringing out the Cresselia and the Landorus. You guys see the regular Landorus, but as you can see from that Intimidate, that's actually the new Therian form of Landorus. So what do you think that Fish is going to be able to do here? I mean, on the surface, it looks pretty good for King of Kongs here to me.
Yeah, I think so too. King of Kongs is creating a lot more threat here between Latios' Drago Meteor and Gallade probably having choice attacks here. And Fish is kind of in a rough spot here. I'm assuming he's going to try to get some form of speed control off here to give himself some room.
Oh yeah, and there goes the Icy Wind on the Cresselia. And Landorus showing a Protect, so not the Choice Scarf Landorus Therian form that was popular really early on amongst both the Japanese players and North Americans once we got it. Gallade showing Trick, that's going to give Cresselia a Choice Band, and that's not something Fish wants to see.
Now we can assume that's probably what happened in the previous game as well, since Fish ended up Choice Locked.
Correct. And now Gallade gets that Citrus Berry, which in addition to its amazing attacking power, it's now going to have very reasonable bulk.
Yeah, and Fish is kind of in a rough spot here. He's still got the Icy Wind spam option to keep speed control, but the amount of threat he's creating is really small if he continues to do that. So he's going to have trouble avoiding having King of Kong's Pokemon run all over him with moves like Draco Meteor and close combat threatening him.
Landorus bows out to take the Draco Meteor from Latios on Heatran, possibly saving that for some more Intimidate support against that Gallade. Normally this would be very good for Fish because Gallade is showing that... Oh, sorry, that was actually Cresselia that was using the Psyshock, but Cresselia with the Gallade with the Psycho Cut, normally very good for Fish as he could then be locked into it. But since he tricked away that Choice Band, he can still hit back with close combat if he needs to.
A very strong turn by Fish there, improving his matchup. He's got a bunch of minus stats on the other side of the field now, too, with Latios being -1 speed and -2 special attack, so he's almost certainly going to have to switch out. And Gallade's being threatened by the combination of Heatran and Cresselia.
Yeah, Psyshock doing a very good amount of damage on that Gallade, and I suspect that a double Psyshock plus Heatwave or Earth Power would definitely be enough to put that Gallade down.
Yeah, Gallade isn't a Pokemon a lot of people know a lot about, but it does have much higher special defense than defense or HP, so Psyshock is helping increase Fish's damage here. And Landorus's appearance will lower its attack to -2.
King of Kongs showing Rotom Wash, though, and so far that looks like it's going to do a very good amount of damage against everything else on Fish's team. Really counts what that fourth Pokemon is. If it's Amoonguss, like he showed in Team Preview, then he does have an answer against that Rotom W, but otherwise, Hydro Pump is going to threaten both Landorus and Heatran very much.
A great switch by Fish there to absorb the close combat. Now it's Gallade who probably is going to have to leave here with -2 speed and -1 defense and special defense, and -2 attack. Although Cock may just choose to sacrifice it. Obviously, Rotom W here is creating the threat, so Fish's hands are tied, and he can probably get Gallade out relatively free if he wants to.
Right. Fish has been playing very well with his resistances to keep that Gallade in check, but as you just said, the Gallade switched out in favor of Ferrothorn. Landorus probably going to U-turn against that Ferrothorn, switch back out, hopefully to something that can threaten that Rotom. Definitely not Heatran, because he would just be switching back into a Hydro Pump, so let's see what his fourth is. And it looks like it's going to be Fish's own Rotom, which will take a resisted Hydro Pump from King of Kongs, but still not the best option because Ferrothorn now threatens that Rotom W.
At least it gives a Fish a chance to see Rotom W's item in a fairly safe context there because of the damage range. So, I don't know exactly what Fish's EVs are to try to deduce what he has there, but he should be able to figure out if it specs or not off of that.
Still, this combination of Rotom W and Ferrothorn really threatening to anything that Fish could bring out. I mean, Heatran would normally be the option against Ferrothorn, but that Rotom W is right there waiting to pounce on it.
And also the interesting situation here where since Cresselia is choice locked, Hidden Power Fire has been very popular in Cresselia lately, and normally he'd be able to threaten Ferrothorn back with that, but with the choice lock he's not able to do it. There's a pretty nice Psyshock prediction there to get some damage in on Gallade in the switch here.
And looks like it's a status platform Rotom Wash, and it gets the Thunder Wave on Gallade, not what it wanted to get. Definitely wanted to hit that other, wanted to hit King of Kongs Rotom with that Thunder Wave, and it looks like that Power Whip from Ferrothorn is going to knock out the Rotom. Fortunately, I don't think Rotom was as useful to the team as, you know, any of his other remaining Pokemon, but it's definitely not something he wants to give up that easily.
It does get him a free switch in with Heatran here if he chooses to do it, and nothing on Cock's side will be able to survive a Heat Wave. So he could either take advantage of that and try to fire off the Heat Wave, or take advantage of the threat and try to get a substitute up here so he can get some control because he'll still be threatened by Rotom.
Minimums.
If he has Substitute, I definitely expect that he'll want to use it on this turn and use that Cresselia Psyshock to either take out Gallade, which I imagine that King of Kongs will want to sacrifice, or, looks like Ferrothorn's coming out. Looks like he's going out to Latios, and yep, that Psyshock going on Gallade, sacrificing the Gallade just so that he gets a free switch in to his other Pokemon.
You can almost guarantee this will be a substitute then. Yeah, there it is.
Yep, substitute on the Heatran. That's good news for Fish. Substitute with Leftovers, one of my favorite combinations. I don't understand why you would use Substitute without Leftovers, especially on a Pokemon as bulky as Heatran and with so many weaknesses, or resistances.
I mean, I think there's definitely other good options, but it's undervalued, I think, just because that's not what Wolf did. And I think what Wolf did was right for him with his Chople Berry, but I think a lot of other teams could benefit from Leftovers Heatran, such as Fish's, especially with his Intimidate support there.
Showing Leftovers, I suppose that King of Kongs has to be worried about a Protect on that Heatran. Let's see if he managed to make that prediction and go for the attack on the Cresselia instead. Surf Latios, that's a new one.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice there. I can't remember the last time I've seen someone use that, but it's original. I like that.
I would expect that on a team with Gastrodon, but this one's new to me. And yes, looks like King of Kongs was smart enough to predict that Heatran would be hiding behind his sub and protect this turn. gets the 2 shots on Cresselia, both of which are faster than Cresselia, and looks like he's going to be in very good position to take down that Cresselia next turn if he needs to, or just take down that Heatran.
Yeah, obviously it's an interesting decision here because Surf won't be enough to take out Cresselia, but he can double target either of them and knock them off the field.
Fish might be able to go for a double protect here on his Heatran too. Doesn't opt for that 50-50. Surf, very likely to break that sub. Let's see which Pokemon that King of Kongs decided to target. Oh, and a critical hit on the sub. Just a little bit of insult to injury.
Oh, the critical
and
hitting
critical
Cresselia.
hit on the Cresselia, but it's still not enough. And the Hydro Pump going off on the Heatran. You think that's enough? That should be enough, yeah?
Easily, yeah.
Very much. And Heatran goes down, which means that Fish no longer has an option against the Ferrothorn in the back, and that should be game.
Yeah, Fish will be lucky just to get another Pokemon here. He still got Landorus alive, but Latios had his special attack reset, so it can fire away with Draco Meteor, and Cresselia is all but useless. Locked into Psyshock against Latios and Ferrothorn.
Yeah, I suspect that Fish might have been better off switching that Heatran out for the Landorus or going for the double protect. I don't think he had a win condition leaving it in.
Yeah, I think it's pretty risky to just hope that King of Kongs chooses not to target it because it's the most important Pokemon for King of Kongs to remove. So, the temptation's there to go for it, and it's not very likely to hit that prediction.
And I think that's showing Surf on Latios really the game changer on that one, because otherwise, substitute up on Heatran against Latios, very safe move.
Yeah, pretty fantastic idea, actually. It's one of the best counters to substitute Heatran I can think of, because you get the damage enough to get rid of the substitute and get to do some damage to the partner. Although he does some damage to his own Pokemon here and gives Fish the second kill, although it shouldn't matter too much.
And both Pokemon go down. 3 kills at once. That's a triple KO from King of Kongs Latios. And in decisive fashion, King of Kongs takes this series in 2 games.
Pretty impressive win by him. Some original movesets like the Surf Latios there, but generally it's a strong, good stuff team full of stuff we've seen from him before. So pretty intimidating roster there.
Yeah, very impressive moves from King of Kongs. Definitely high-tier play on his part. That Surf Latios makes a lot more sense once I go back to his team preview. He's got, Ferrothorn and Rotom, both of which resist, but he's also got Jellicent, which I'm assuming is Water Absorb, and that's going to make a very bulky Pokemon even bulkier. And, really strong plays from King of Kongs. He moves on to the round of 8, and in very decisive fashion.
Yeah, I definitely think that he'll be a tough target for anyone who has to play him in future rounds. Fish isn't a weak opponent by any stretch of the imagination, and he managed to win that series pretty handily.
Yeah, that was a very impressive win by King of Kongs, because Fish has so much experience at this game. He's been around for forever, and for King of Kongs to take that in 2, very impressive.
A pretty smart team by King of Kongs, too. I mean, like you mentioned when we first started out, he's using some stuff we're familiar with him using, such as Choice Band Gallade, but he's also got some tricks that his opponents probably aren't expecting, like that Surf Latios. I think it's a good way for trainers to transition into new teams and new ideas to use new stuff mixed with the Pokemon they're already familiar with and can use better than other players, and you can see how well it worked out for King of Kongs here. Whereas Fish was using a team where I think he's experimenting a little more with some Pokemon he hasn't used before, and it got him pretty far in the tournament. I think it's not that surprising that it didn't work as well against another strong opponent using a team he's more practiced with.
Yeah, it definitely goes back to the points that you've been making since Nationals, that nothing really replaces practice, nothing replaces comfort level with a team. You can get some nice things off of, surprise, but once you're comfortable with a team, you know the ins and outs, you can play your opponents like a fiddle.
And King of Kongs managed to do just that. Strong control all through the game. I guess that probably about wraps up our coverage of this game. Hopefully we'll get some more matches here in round 4.
Yep, very nice win by King of Kongs. Congratulations. That wraps up this match in the round of 16. We'll see him next time in the round of 8. Thanks for watching. This has been Nugget Bridge coverage of the Nugget Bridge Major, round 4.